Hello, thank you for viewing the Adeptia Process Simulation demonstration. In this demo today, I will briefly review the process simulation capability of the Adeptia product. Adeptia provides complete functionality for managing the BPM process lifecycle. As defined by Gartner, in this picture here, the BPM process lifecycle includes a number of steps. That starts with the definition and modeling of the process flow. That would typically be the initial as-is process that is being modeled. Then the next step is the simulation of that process to determine or identify the to-be process. Once the first three steps are done, these steps are typically done by the business analysts, and once these steps are done, the process flow is handed off to the developers or IT people to actually deploy and execute that business process. Finally, when the process is automated and deployed, the business managers at that point are responsible for the last three steps of the life cycle, which is to monitor the process, analyze, and then optimize the process to make it even more better and productive. So the first three steps are what business analysts do, and in the demonstration today, I will be talking about how, specifically for simulation, how the analysts would take a existing as-is process and use the Adeptia product for simulation. The business analysts and developers log into Adeptia and because Adeptia provides a collaborative web-based design environment for actually all three of the BPM players, which would be the business analysts, the developers, as well as the business managers. They all log in to Adeptia through a web-based interface, and Adeptia is unique in the sense that it provides a completely web-based design studio and management environment through one consistent interface. So here we will log in as a business analyst and see how the process is simulated. So when a business analyst logs in, they will see this screen, which is actually displayed from a server where Adeptia is running, and they would be logging in from their computers or their desktops or their laptops. So the first step is to go into manage and to go into the process flow. If you want to see how this process flows are initially created, we have another demo which is called the Process Designer demonstration video that is also available on the Adeptia website that talks about how these flows can be created. But in this case, we have an existing flow that we will simulate. So here, what we would do is select a claims management flow that we have already created. That's an as-is flow, and we will open that up and show how the simulation functionality of the Adeptia. So what we are doing right now is opening up the Process Designer component in Adeptia that is used for designing the process flows as well as for process simulation. So here we have this process flow that has been created already. There are a number of steps in this flow. The first step is, like I mentioned, this is a claims process. So there is a claim coming in that needs to be validated when this process flow starts. So the first step is to validate the claim. The second step is a decision node where rules are applied to see whether the claim should be processed automatically or does it need to go to a loss adjuster. If it needs to go to loss adjuster, there's a adjust loss step. Otherwise, after which it goes to processing the claim. Otherwise, it goes directly to the processing of that claim, and the final step is the notification. and then the process flow ends. Each of these steps could in fact be themselves be processes that have a number of steps and decision nodes in them itself. So what we would do here is go to the simulator, and we can see this flow here, and and this simulator window actually has the same canvas area where the process is shown. Plus, it actually has a panel here where we assign resources and create scenarios. So let me first go into the resources tab. So what we do in resources here is actually specify the types of people resources, but there could be other types of resources as well, some direct resources or indirect. But in this case, we've kept the scenario simple, and there are people resources like loss adjusters, claim handlers, and call center operators that are assigned. We've mentioned here how many of these resources are available and what is the cost of these resources on an hourly basis. So these resources have been specified here, and we can actually add more resources as well to this list. But for now, we have these 3 resources that are identified. And then what we do is create a scenario, which is specifying how much time each of these steps take. So, for example, in terms of adjusting the loss, we have specified what type of queue it is down here. Who is the resource that is assigned to that step. In terms of the execution time, we have specified that it's a normal distribution of a mean of about 2 hours is what it takes to do this job, and and so it's a normal distribution, and so this is how scenario is created by assigning time parameters as well as resources to each of these steps. So once we have created the resource set and we have assigned those resources in the scenario to the flow, to each of the steps in the flow, we are ready to run the simulation. So we'll click Start here, and the simulation has now started. So what is happening right now is, as you can see on the screen, is for each of the steps we are seeing we can see 3 bars, and each of the bars is actually representing a data point. The first one represents the runs, how many times that activity has been executed. The queue mentions what is the queue size, how many tasks are waiting for that resource at that point, and the U represents the utilization of the resource. So as we can see that initially the utilization for this resource in the validate claim step is pretty high, and then we can see that 70% of the tasks are going this way directly, 30% are going to the adjust loss step, and the adjust loss step is actually is taking a while as well, because the queue size here is building up. There are 13 right now, and it will go up. And while this simulation is running, we can see here the cost in terms of what the average cost of the process flow, as well as the minimum maximum cost, and we can also see the time. What's the average run time, for example, at this point. So let me speed up the simulation so that so that we can see the end result of what happens at the simulation. So at this point, the simulation has ended because I had made it run faster, and we can see that the average run time is about 144 minutes, and the average cost is about $45. So so every time the process flow runs, we run it 100 times. On average, the cost is $45, but the maximum cost of the time the longest it took that path was 176, which was the critical path, and the shortest time was $3. So now let's see. Okay, so now we can look at actually detailed reports of the results of the simulation, and Adeptia provides these graphs and tables for analysis, and these reports can be printed off and saved, and archived to see how the simulation had run. But now what we want to do is actually change some of these parameters so we can see what the effect is of changing some of the resources and the probabilities on this decision node. So what we would do here is we'll make the yes a little bit less. So I'll go here and I'll reduce the time it actually goes down this path, because if we can improve the rules, and there are only 25% of the time the task goes here, and it goes directly to processing 75% of the time. And we will go into the resource set and we will change the resources so that there are more loss adjusters available. So there are 6 of them, and there are less call center operators, so we'll make them only 2. And I'll save this here, and then I'll rerun this simulation, and we'll see what impact does these changes have on the cost and the time that it took earlier. So let me run this a little bit faster. So now the simulation is running, and we can see what the cost is. The cost is about $21 right now. And let me run this even a little faster. So okay, so the simulation has now ended, and so what we can see is that the average cost has come down from $44 or $45 to $38, and the time should also have, well, the average runtime actually increased from 144 minutes to 180 minutes, because now maybe the issue here is that because we reduce the call center operators, the utilization there has gone up. So we have reduced the cost, but we have not reduced the time of the flow. So so this gives you an example of how the process simulation capability of Adeptia would be used by business analysts and managers to figure out the optimum resource utilization, as well as estimate the average cost of a process flow and the average time that the process flow would take. So one can set some expectations with the customers in terms of better customer delivery, for example. So I hope this demonstration was helpful in understanding the simulation capability of the Adeptia product. And if you have any additional questions, please feel free to call Adeptia and set up a live personalized demonstration, and we can go into more detail of the complete set of features that Adeptia provides. Thank you for your time. Take care.